you had better watch this video. Why? Because it's going to help your English. Stay tuned as I make recommendations easy. Hi everyone, how are you? I'm Edward from English Made Easy, and today we're going to learn how you can make recommendations and suggestions in English. What is a recommendation? A recommendation is what you believe is the best course of action for somebody to take. You're using your knowledge or authority on the subject to tell somebody what you think is the right thing to do. You're not saying it's a rule or an obligation, but you hope that they listen to you. Suggestions and recommendations differ slightly, because with suggestions, you're simply presenting an option, but with a recommendation, you are saying that your opinion justifies the option you're providing. Today, we'll look at 5 different ways of making recommendations and divide them into formal and informal options. Moreover, we'll analyze the different situations in which each one is best used so your English sounds more natural, because English is a very contextual language. Let's get some of the more formal options out of the way so we can spend the rest of the lesson looking at the most commonly used options in spoken English. We're talking about recommendations, right? So why not use the word recommend as a verb, such as I recommend plus verb ing. This phrase is a little bit more formal, so it's best used with writing or if you're doing a presentation or if you have a business meeting. Notice that the phrase starts with I and not you and is followed with verb ing. This is important to take note of. Let's look at some more examples to make things clearer. I recommend contacting the London office to discuss this further. If you'd like to talk to him, I'd recommend calling when he's finished lunch. We can also use the negative version, such as in the sentence, I don't recommend taking that course. Up next is another formal option. I advise you to plus verb 1. This is also a more formal option, so is best used for English writing, in presentations, or business meetings. While this recommendation also starts with I, it's followed with the infinitive form. Apart from that, it's exactly the same as saying I recommend doing something. Let's check out some more examples. I advise you to drop whatever you're doing and get the project done. I advise you to speak to Sarah if you're not sure how to continue. I don't advise you meet with them just yet until your presentation is finished. Okay, now that we've got the most formal options out of the way, we can look at the 3 most commonly used for English speaking. 2 of them are identical, but one is a little bit different. The most common way to recommend something is just using the modal verb should. Should is also very straightforward. We just use the structure subject plus should plus infinitive. This phrase can be used in any situation, whether it's formal or informal, with friends or at work. Let's look at some examples. You should visit the Sydney Opera House if you go to Australia. You should practice every day if you want to improve your English. You shouldn't get too disappointed if you make a mistake. We have another recommendation which is virtually identical to should, but it's used less often, especially with American English, and that's ought to. The structure for using ought to is subject plus ought to plus infinitive. Just like with should, it can be used formally or informally at work or at home with friends and family. Some more examples will make things clearer. I ought to listen to my teacher if I want to learn. We ought to check out that restaurant that just opened down the road. She ought not add more salt to that meal or else it won't taste good. And finally, we look at the last recommendation for the day. This recommendation is similar to should and ought to in that we can use it quite informally, but the meaning is a little bit different because this one is stronger than should and ought to. We can use subject plus had better plus infinitive to recommend something to somebody if we think that there might be a bad result if they don't listen to our recommendation. Take this as an example. Your friend has been sick all night and you're a little bit worried that if they don't visit the doctor, things could get worse. You might say, "You had better go to the doctor before you get even sicker." Let's look at some more examples to better illustrate how "had better" is used for more serious recommendations than "should" or "ought to." You had better submit your essay before the due date, or else you might lose marks. You had better vaccinate your child before they start school. You had better not stay out in the sun too long without water. As you would have noticed through all the examples I gave, these recommendations can be used in both positive or negative forms. Positive forms are used when we think something is a good idea. Negative forms are when we think something is a bad idea and should be avoided. I want you to practice now. Imagine somebody is going to come and visit your country and they have never been there before. In the comments, I want you to recommend all the things you think they should do, as well as all the things you think they shouldn't do. Try and use a mixture of all the different ways of recommending things I showed you today. Write all your answers and ideas in the comment section below, and I'll check them for you. Good luck! Thanks for watching this lesson of English Made Easy. If you feel like this video helped you, please give it a like, share it with your friends, or even consider subscribing to see more of our videos. If you have a question that you want answered, please post it in the comments section below. Or if you'd like to join our community, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or even support us on Patreon. You can find the links to all of these below. Thanks for watching and keep learning.